And welcome everyone to another week of the Focus TV. We got Octavia White here, Cardell Dudley Jr., Raymond Lyons, Wilson Tarpe Jr., and this is CB7, episode 18. We got Cardell checking in live from Capital One, winning ACC Tournament first round. Cardell, I know was that 3 games today already. What's the first round ACC Tournament been like for you?
The current game right now, Boston College is up on Miami, 47-32. It's not even that close. Dominant performance from Quinn Post, Boston College, 7-foot center, highly skilled out of New Zealand. We started the game scoring 12 of Boston College's first 16 points, and they didn't look back, honestly. Miami just look wounded. They look like a deer in the headlights right now, and they don't have a clue on how to guard Post. He had 17 points at the half on 5 of 10 from the field, 2 of 5 from deep with 6 rebounds. Boston College is shooting 50% from the field, 40% from 3. They haven't missed a free throw. They out-rebounded them 25-18. Got more assists, 10 to 3. Points in the paint, 18 to 16. They're literally winning every statistical category right now. It's the reason why Miami is the 14th seed out of 15 teams in the ACC. And I'm seeing why, man. Sometimes it's just clear cut like that. They ain't even, it is what it is, man. I'm not going to try to make this more than what it is. He's dominant, and they have no answer for Post inside. They're too small, and he's too skilled. He can kill them from the post. He can put it on the floor, and obviously he can shoot threes. I think he shot 43% for the season this year. So, yeah, he's one of those guys, those types.
Well, what about the easier games of today?
Well, the first game of the day was between Georgia Tech and Notre Dame. Notre Dame pulled it out 84-80. Georgia Tech, man, they had their chance to pull it out, man. Damon Stoudemire was calling some wicked stuff down the stretch to help them, including a full court press in the second half to help them get back in the game because the Irish was killing them, to begin with. They got a mean freshman, backcourt. ACC Rookie of the Year, Marcus Burton. And he also made the third team, so that tells you how nice he is as a true freshman. He finished with 21 points, 8 assists, and 5 rebounds. But the coach's son, Braden Shrewsbury, is another freshman to keep an eye on sharpshooting. He actually made the team with 23 points, 8-12 shooting. He was 5 of 8 from deep. You know what I mean? And I think 19 came in the second half. So he was bombing them. Marcus Burton killed Georgia Tech in the first half. Then he started off with the press in. Trapped Burton when he crossed half court to get the ball out of his hands, and Shrewsbury made them play. And that ended up being the difference. But they got some. But Georgia Tech, they had their own freshman guard that's nice. Nathan George stepped up, came in averaging 9 points a game. He finished with a game high, 24 points, 7 assists, 8 of 13 from the field, 5 of 8 from deep. They had a chance. They did a pick and roll with him and their other freshman big, Mondago, who has a chance to be playing 82 games. So 6'9" kid out of Africa. And the lob was there. He was wide open. And when he was trying to do it, the Irish got a hand on it. 3 turnover, man. Right there on the stretch. They went down, made the free throws. And that sealed the game right there. They didn't have enough time to try to overcome a 4-point lead. So they had their chances, man. But, look, it was a youth battle. And Notre Dame youth, they look a little bit more grown up right now at this point in time. So Georgia Tech don't have nothing to hang their heads about. They competed, and they got a bite-ass season to be their first year in the ACC and be this competitive. They got wins over Duke and North Carolina in Damon Stoudemire's first season. So they're on their way, man. They got them out. They just got to build and grow up a little bit. And then the second game, NC State, dominated Louisville, 94-85. Louisville made a little run to try to keep the score close, but Casey Morzell, local product, 25 points, 13 of 13 from the line. He didn't shoot the ball well, 5 of 12, so he did what Cruz did the other night. Man, I'm gonna put my head down, driving in, and see what happens. And he got to the line. Michael O'Connell, joined with 16 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and DJ Burns, that big inside, really big inside, 12 points on 4 or 5 shooting. Got to get his conditioning, but that's been that's been the issue with him throughout his career. When he's on the floor, he's a monster. He's highly skilled, big, but he can't stay on the floor. That's the problem. And he's also in foul trouble, so 3 fouls. But he actually sparked NC State to pull away in the second half and make sure they win. He came out with eight straight points, and it was a wrap. Louisville just too small inside. They couldn't guard him. But, man, did they give NC State a scare. Sophomore guard. 6'3" guard out of Los Angeles. Sky Clark. Goddamn, boy. That month. 36 points. 36 points. He was tearing their ass up. I'm sorry I'm cussing. I got to tell it like it is, bro. 12 of 17 from the field. 7 and 9 from D. 7 and 9 from D, man. 4 rebounds. They could not guard that kid, man. If you'd have got a couple extra possessions, if they'd got some stops and a couple extra possessions, he would have made it a game. He probably would have took the game because they couldn't do nothing with him. And Brandon Huntley, Hatfield, their junior big, he also contributed well, had all around game, 17 points, 7 rebounds, and four assists on 60-10 shooting for the field. But that's the difference. NC State had 5 players in double figures, and Louisville only had 3. They just got more balanced scoring and was able to, pull out the win. Where somebody had to go nuclear to keep them in it, and that just tells you the difference in the teams.
Hey man, survive and advance. That's what it's about right now. And conference tournament that's a mantra for the month. Conference tournament, and then the big dance. You got a full slate of games tomorrow. ACC tournament is 3 games today, 4 games tomorrow. As you shared on social media, everyone follow Finest Mag on social media so you guys can stay updated all throughout the ACC tournament. Cardell, enjoy the rest of tonight's game. We got Wizards. Ray going to get to Wizards in a little while, but Cardell, appreciate you checking in. Get into the women's side of things with college basketball, going from one conference tournament to the other. And the women's Big Ten tournament, look, man, I've told you guys all season the type of boat Maryland's been in, the adversity they fought through. That said, yeah, man, I don't even know where to start. All right, so for one of the very first times since they've been in the Big Ten, they had to play on the first 2 days. Doesn't happen for Maryland because typically they got a bye and or a double bye, and they're relaxing. It's 2 games, chip, get ready for the dance. That's not what happened this year. However, we know Maryland needed a solid showing to get to the big dance because of how up and down the year was. They rallied to beat Illinois 75-65 after a slow start, having been outscored 24-10 in the opening period. Maryland had the work cut out for them. They responded accordingly with a 25-point second quarter, holding the Illini to 13 in the process, cutting the deficit to 2 at halftime. An 11-0 run by the Terrapins in the third quarter helped give them the lead, and Maryland never looked back. Maryland was led by Bree McDaniels, 20 points and 10 rebounds. Jakia Brown-Turner added 14 and 8. Ali Kubek off the bench had 13 points, and Renee Alexander and Cheyenne Sellers finished with 12 and 11 points respectively. Maryland shot a blistering 69% in the third quarter. Illinois was led by Makara Cooks, 17 points and 8 assists. The game that you guys are watching right now, in the quarterfinals, the Terps delivered an upset heard round social media. Because people, this is probably the biggest upset that happened over the weekend in the women's game. Ohio State, number 1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. Maryland got them out the way. They lost Ohio State twice in the regular season. Beat them by 20, and they did so by bullying them on the glass, 55-31. 21 of those 55 came on the offensive end. They locked down on defense to advance to the semis with an 82-61 win. Cheyenne Sellers had a very big game, 25 points, 8 boards, 7 assists. Both Renee Alexander and Jakia Brown-Turner had 19, while Faith Masonis added 15 points and 11 rebounds. The Terps dominated the second quarter and closed strong, giving up just 9 points in the final period. Maryland's run, albeit the excitement of the second game they played, their run would come to the end in the semifinals at the hands of Nebraska. Slow starts, something we talked about many times this year. Slow starts have cost them. You add in some foul trouble, it's like the recipe for like Maryland's worst nightmare. Slow start, foul trouble to key players, and turnovers. Those 3 things happen, Maryland's in trouble. It just is what it is. The Huskers lit it up from beyond the arc, knocking down 13 of 28 shots from deep. Maryland fought back to tie the game midway through the third quarter, but just couldn't get over the hump. Jay Shelley had a career. Jazz Shelley had a career and game high 30 points to lead Nebraska to the win. No other player on the Huskers scored in double figures. She was huge for her team in that game, and we know, I don't care if it was a men's game or a women's game, guard plays everything. You get a guard that goes nuclear. Cardell, we just talked about, I think the young man named Sky Clark almost led his team to a win that they had no business having. Shout out to Jazz Shelley. She did just that. Maryland had 5 players scoring double figures, led by Sellers in her 15. Masonis had 14, while the Terps got 11 from Ali Kubek and 10 apiece from Alexander and McDaniel. Maryland will find out where they'll be on Selection Sunday later this week. They have a chance to make some noise, but a couple things that they can't afford, as I just mentioned. No slow starts. Got to stay out of foul trouble and have to take care of the ball. You're already at a deficit with the lack of size you have in the front court. You already have to fight that much harder where you're crashing as a team. You got to check those other boxes, so all you got to do is worry about the rebound. Because to a degree, there's only so much you can do about it. However, you can take better care of the ball. You need to play defense without fouling. I know that's tough and that's hard, but you don't have the depth where you can afford key guards to miss time. Many of the games they've had against ranked opponents, Sellers has been foul trouble or injured, or Bree McDaniel gets in foul trouble. Maryland can't live without those two on the court. They need at least one of them on the court, if not both. So we'll see what happens. But those are the things they need in terms of the recipe they need, regardless of where they end up in the bracket. They have a chance to make some noise. It's a very mentally tough team. They've been through a lot this season, and it's evidenced by the Big Ten tournament. They'd probably be in a world of trouble if they lost that very first game against Illinois. And they rallied to get that win. The win over Ohio State was the first ranked win they had this season. But it came at a time. That they needed it. So for almost all season long, when they've taken on these really tough teams, they have a ton of quad 1 losses. They have the second toughest schedule in the country. When you think about non-conference, plus what the Big Ten has done this year, you got Iowa, Ohio State. You have a ton of teams that have raised hell this season. And, at the end of the day, all the things Maryland's been through, they got a chance to still be in the dance. You can see what happens from there. We've seen lesser teams make runs. You don't know how it's gonna break. It's not like this team is void of talent. So look forward to see. When I talk to you guys next week, we'll know who they're playing. So, go from there. Octavia, it's like Christmas depending on who you are, what fan base you root for, or at least what's it called? This is the one time in NFL season where everybody's feels optimistic for 10 seconds until all the other teams in your division sign more players than you, and then the year already is trash and nothing matters, even though there's a whole draft to go, the games have to be played, and people are overreacting like crazy. Legal tampering period, aka the start of free agency. NFC East, what you got for us, Octavia?
Yeah, so this is like the closest thing to having the season that we are going to have until September or August for, Hall of Fame game and all that nonsense. But it has been bananas, like legit bananas, ever since the legal tampering period has started, whatever that's supposed to be. I just think that's an oxymoron, but it is what it is. So disclaimer before we start, there are so many signings, there are so many agreements. There's a possibility I missed something that just happened. A lot of these deals aren't, of course, signed due to the fact that we're still in a legal tampering period. Most of these are agreements. There are weird contract numbers, so could be off or on. Some are still to be determined. Some are still pending physicals. But these are just, in principle, what some of the teams in the NFC East have decided to do so far. No shade on nothing, but I'm going to start with the team that's done the least, so we don't got to, take too long. The Dallas Cowboys ain't did a damn thing. But this is nothing new. This is them every year. So I'm sure most Cowboys fans are not surprised they're probably on their annual anger moment because I know they want to be involved in it. I saw the funniest meme where it was like Squidward looking out the window at SpongeBob and Patrick playing outside, and it was like Dallas looking at everybody else having fun in free agency. I thought it was hilarious. But they did get involved today. They signed the long snapper, Trent Sieg, and they re-signed their defensive tackle Carl Davis Jr. to a one-year deal worth $1.38 million. Yeah, so that's all they did. Now they did lose some notable players as well. Running back Tony Pollard agreed to a 3-year, $24 million deal with the Tennessee Titans. Dan Quinn has decided to steal everybody from the Cowboys to go play for the Commanders. So defensive end Dorrance Armstrong is also going to the Commanders on a 3-year, $33 million deal, which can be up to $45 million, as well as center Tyler Biadasz, also to the Commanders for 3 years and $30 million. So again, we'll talk about that when we get to the Commanders, but just two notable players. And I think they did also, I'm not sure if he was there last year or not, or if he was a free agent or what, but they did also sign Dante Fowler. I don't think I saw the actual contract negotiations for that yet. But outside of that, Dallas hasn't done anything else. What's concerning, it's not concerning that they're not, well, it is concerning that they're not doing anything. Just because I feel like they should do something. I feel like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, and they do this every year. But I mean, at the same time, they've had 3 straight 12-win seasons, so they are doing something right. But they're missing out on a lot of key things that you think would help them down the stretch. Of course, letting Tony Pollard walk, not a huge deal because I don't think he stayed healthy for them. As well as they probably didn't get the return on investment that they thought they were going to get when they let Zeke go. But they missed out on Derrick Henry. They missed out on Saquon. They missed out on Austin Eckler. They missed out on, pretty much any notable running back. And running backs have been getting paid. We'll get into a couple of those later. Aaron Jones, they missed out on. There's a lot of them. Granted, I'm not saying that these are key players that they possibly won. I think they won a big guy, which is why I thought like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley would be on their radar. They've missed out on all of those. So I'm very interested to see what they end up doing, because at this point, it looks like they're going through the draft. And I'm not 100% sure just because I'm not a draft expert. I don't know if this is a great running back class. So I'm very interested to see what they do, who they end up with. Because behind Tony Pollard, I know it's Deuce Vaughn and somebody else. Rico Dowdle, that's him. So I don't know what's going to happen. Next, we'll move on to the hometown team, the Washington Commanders, who sneakily are doing pretty decent. I told one of my friends that's a Commander fan that I don't like that their franchise is starting to get competent. I don't know how much I like that. But they're starting to now. They did release a couple of people. They released tackle Charles Leno Jr., tight end Logan Thomas, as well as center Nick Gates. So all of them have been released. And these are, as of now, what I know of who they have agreed to terms with. They signed they are attempting to sign tight end Zach Ertz to a 1-year, $5 million contract. We stated defensive end Dorrance Armstrong to the 3-year, $33 million up to $45. Tyler Biadasz, 3 years, $30 million. Linebacker Frank Louvu, 3 years, $31 million. Running back Austin Eckler, which I really do not like at all. I don't know why I brought him over here, but okay. Austin Eckler, 2 years, $11.43 million. So he was not one of the running backs that got paid. We'll get to that. Kicker Brandon McManus, after they earlier I think they're letting Joey Slag go. So veteran kicker Brandon McManus, 1 year, $3.6 million. Guard Nick Algaretti, 3 years, $16 million. Edge Cleveland Farrell, did not see how much his deal is worth yet. They stole my man out of, he was in Atlanta the year before. He was in Philly last year. Quarterback Marcus Mariota. to a 1 year, $6 million deal. They signed long snapper Tyler Ott, 3 years, and safety Jeremy Chin, 1 year, $5.2 million, as well as Dante Fowler. That was a recent one, so I don't think they have out any contracts for them. They did lose 2 notable players, if you want to say. Running back Antonio Gates, as well as quarterback Jacoby Brissett, both went to the Patriots. Antonio Gibson to the Patriots for 3 years, $11.25 million, and it could be up to worth $17.25 million with incentives. And quarterback Jacoby Brissett to the Patriots, 1 year, $8 million. I think that's a little interesting just because with the coach, Mayo, I'm sure he was around when Jacoby was there. I'm pretty sure they probably have a good relationship. With Mac Jones out the door to back up Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville, makes way that you pretty much thought they were probably going to get a veteran quarterback. A lot of people have been saying they really hope the Patriots don't draft a young quarterback just because their team is not made to support it. And we know what teams look like or quarterbacks have to endure when they go to a team. They don't really have a lot of things to put around them. It kind of puts their career in a downward spiral at times, i.e. Bryce. I mean, Mac Jones came into a pretty decent situation and they messed him up as well. So, yeah, I mean, interesting to see what they're doing. You can definitely see the notes and the traits of Dan Quinn pulling those guys from Dallas, getting some of his guys. And I'm sure I have a feeling he's not done yet because there are still a lot of free agents that are out there. So I think all in all, I think they've had a decent draft. I do still think they need some. I mean, Jeremy Chin on the 1 year, 5.2. I do think they still need some secondary help. The secondary wasn't all that great last year. But you can see that they did kind of focus on their offensive line, who also was not great last year, signing Tyler Biadasz as well as guard Nick Algoretti. And I'm sure they're not done because, again, they're going to need somebody there. They have the number 2 pick. You're assuming that they're going to get one of the top tier quarterbacks out there. And they're going to need somebody to protect them. I think it was a great pickup, even though I hate it, for running back Austin Eckler. Because the best thing you can do for a rookie quarterback is give them an established veteran running back to help them out. So I think that that's a good look for him. And I do think that Austin Eckler probably wanted to change the scenery. And who knows? He might not be a Harbaugh guy. So who knows? We'll see how it works out. Again, Commanders fans, I know you guys are excited and optimistic. But let's not put the cart in front of the horse yet. Who we've been optimistic before in the past. Hasn't always worked out, but I think they're on a good track as of now. Next, we'll go to the New York Giants, who's also been a little bit busy. They did release guard Mark Lewinsky, but they have also done some big things. Yeah, I remember talking about this last week, and I said, don't bring him to my division. Why would you ever do that? And Carolina, what are you doing? Like, I know this is not NFC East, but Carolina, what are you doing? They gave up Brian Burns to the New York Giants for a 2nd round and a 5th round pick, where had they did it last year, they would have got 2 number 1s. Congratulations for Brian Burns for getting the heck out of there, because I don't know what they're doing down there. We talked about that last week when they put him on the non-exclusive franchise tag. We knew he was gone. He was probably bugging his agent every 5 seconds, like, bro, get me out of here, bro, get me out of here, bro, get me out of here. Now, to be fair, I don't know if the Giants is all that glamorous for him to go to. Granted, it is going to be a good pickup pairing him with Kayvon Thibodeau and Dexter Lawrence. That's going to be kind of scary, knowing that all of our NFC East teams have to play them twice. But I still think their biggest issue is going to be on offense, because I think their defense was pretty good last year. Now, granted, it's going to get better. They're going to have a new defensive coordinator as well. I don't know if they've announced that. I probably did, missed it, because nobody really pays that much attention to the Giants nowadays. But some other things they did re-sign long snapper Casey Crater and wide receiver Gunnar Olinsky. They did sign a guard. Again, we know every year the offensive line is an issue for the New York Giants. So it looks like instead of going to the draft this year, they've decided to go and get some vets. They signed guard John Runyon to 3 years, $30 million. They signed running back Devin Singletary 3 years for $16.5 million. Jeremy, I can't say his last name, Illuminor, 2 years, $14 million. We talked about the Brian Burns. I don't think I have the exact contract, but they're going to sign him and extend him, so he's going to make a bag. They also signed quarterback Drew Lock to a 1 year, $5 million. So somebody to be behind Daniel Jones, and I'll tell you why in a second. They're also signing former Patriot, former Eagle safety Jalen Mills to a 1 year deal pending physicals, as well as wide receiver Isaiah McKenzie. Also, linebacker Carter Coughlin is also re-signing pending a physical. Again, some of these numbers as far as their contracts and numbers and years have not been finalized. Everything is, tampering. But they did have some notable losses as well. I'm talking about Drew Luck being the backup now to Daniel Jones. That's because they've lost Tyrod Taylor to the Jets for a 2 year contract for $18 million. Safety Xavier McKinney to the Packers for 4 years, $68 million. My man got paid. I was hoping we could sweeten, get him over to Philadelphia, but that wasn't able to get done. But the one thing we talked about last week, and to be honest, the reason I'm wearing this sweatshirt today, because running back Saquon Barkley has decided to leave the poorest world of New Jersey in Meadowlands or MetLife Stadium and going down the turnpike back home to Philadelphia. I'll get into his contract just because they're next. But again, the NFC, the Giants, I don't think they've been terrible. I think that the loss of Saquon Barkley has overshadowed a lot of the other moves that they've made. I think that this was a point to say that they know that they're not ready to really contend. So they're trying to shore up the places that they know they need to. And there's no way that they can justify paying, unfortunately, Saquon Barkley the money that he deserves after giving $40 million a year to Daniel Jones, and still try to put pieces together for everything else that they have. So I think that's kind of where it went awry. They do still have some. I still think they need a lot on the position players on the offensive side. I think picking up Devin Singletary was a good pickup. He had a pretty good, decent year last year in Houston. But I don't know who else they have. I think they still have Matt Breida and somebody else in the running back room, but they're going to need more. I don't think he's made a decision as well, but Darren Waller was on the fence of retiring. Apparently, he's not sure if he's going to come back. So that's another key loss at a primetime position that they'll have. Although I do like Daniel Bellinger as a tight end for them. He was pretty solid before he got hurt last year. We'll see what Isaiah Hodgins is this year in his second year. We'll see their steady people that they usually have. A lot of them are free agents currently. Sterling Shepard, I put it together, for example. So we'll see. I think this has a lot to do to decide, will there be a day ball the season after? I know it's been pretty fast. It's only been 2 years, but with a new regime and a new GM, it's always kind of tough. So hopefully they've had those conversations that it might not be this year. And if that's the case, hopefully they'll be able to get another opportunity, because it's going to be a tough year for them regardless. And last but not least, to the best team in the NFC East I can play. But to the Philadelphia Eagles, as I stated before, Saquon Barkley, who has terrorized us for the last 6 years outside of the times he's been hurt, has signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. And to be completely honest, I was shocked at the number. I wasn't shocked that they signed him, because I believe that he's been on their radar ever since. There was talks about him and Xavier McKinney as a package deal, although Xavier didn't make it. But yeah, Saquon Barkley signed 3 years, $37.7 million. It can be up to $46.7 million with incentives, and he's guaranteed 26. Philadelphia Eagles don't usually drop a bag on running backs like that. For the past, I don't know how many years, it's always been running back by committee. It ain't gonna be that this year. Saquon, you're gonna be out there all the time, bro. And hopefully he's able to stay healthy because I think that's the only knock on him, and I think that's the only thing people are saying could be the downfall of this deal. But I think he was relatively healthy last year, and he probably wasn't as healthy the other couple of years because, I mean, Jesus Christ, there's no offensive line to block any holes for him. So, and playing it behind one of the best offensive lines, and I say that, just because there has been, I didn't say it last week, but Jason Kelce has officially retired after 13 seasons. So he'll no longer be the stalwart of the offensive line. But at the same time, they re-signed Landon Dickerson to a 4-year extension, $84 million. He also got paid. And he's been he's been steady. He's been healthy. He's been a pivotal part of the offensive line. So they're really only replacing one offensive lineman. Cam Jurgens was playing guard, and he is naturally a center. He was picked to basically succeed Kelce, so I expect him to shift over to the center. You still got Lane Johnson. You still got Jordan Mailata, and then Landon Dickerson. So, and you have one of the best offensive line coaches in the league in Jeff Stoutland. So I think they'll be okay there. They did sign edge Julian Okora to a 1-year, $2.675 billion deal. They re-signed tight end Albert for 1 year. Now, they did also release safety Kevin Byard, who's also agreed to a 2-year deal with the Chicago Bears. They also released cornerback Avonte Maddox. I believe this was done for cap reasons. There is rumblings that they're still discussing of a possible reunion. So we'll see how that gets done. They did also re-sign Edge Brandon Graham to a 1 year. I don't think it's a vet minimum. I think they, gave him a little bit more. I suspect this will be his last season as well. But it's nice to see BG come back. Although he will be back, but he won't be back with his partner. Fletcher Cox also retired after 12 years, I believe, and all 12 for the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's a big loss as far as the veteran presence that has been in that team, in that locker room for a while, losing Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox. My fingers are crossed that they decide to unretire after, free agency and be like, I'll do one more time, but we'll see. Another big signing, they signed edge Bryce Huff to a 3-year, $51.1 million contract. I think this was a great signing as well. Again, losing Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham is up there in age, and outside of that, then you have a lot of young pieces. I know you still have Hassan Reddick as well as Josh Sweat, but both have been on the talks as far as trading blocks. So I unfortunately suspect at least one of them will be traded or released or end up somewhere else. I don't know who I want it to be out of the two. I love Sweaty J, and I think Hassan as well. But I think Josh Sweat is younger, so that might play into a part of it as well. They also signed edge Zach Bond from the Saints on a 1-year, $3.5 million. They signed the guard Matt Hennessy. I'm just like saying his last name all the time. Matt Hennessy to a 1-year deal. They re-signed the special teams unit and punter Braden Mann to a 2-year, $4.2 million contract, as well as long snapper Rick Lovato. They signed wide receiver Devontae Parker to a 1-year, $4.69 million contract. They're only going to have to pay $1.2 million of it, as the Patriots will pay the remainder. So kind of low risk, high reward. As long as he also stays healthy, he can compete for the number 3 wide receiver or number 4 between Olamide Zaccheaus as well as Quez Watkins. And I'm not sure what they're doing with Julio Jones at this point as well. And last but not least, this happened right before we came on air, and I don't know if I liked it. I kind of rolled my eyes. It's going to be interesting to see when it happens, when he walks back through those doors. The Philadelphia Eagles signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson to a 3-year, $33 million contract. He had a lot to say about Philadelphia when he left. He had a lot to say about, the 49ers when he was out there in Detroit. Now he's back in Philly. When he was here, his car got stolen. He was a little bit upset about that. Took a lot of trash on his way out. It's going to be very interesting to see how he's received coming back to Lincoln Financial Field. But outside of that, he's a great player. We need more defensive and secondary help. And to me, there's still some good ones out there. So I'm hoping that there's still some time to snag a little bit more. Justin Simmons, call me. And as far as notable losses, Marcus Mariota, like I said, he went to the Commanders on a 1-year, $6 million contract. They did also lose running back DeAndre Swift on a 3-year, $24 million contract to the Bears. And Nicholas Moore, a linebacker who was there last year, who did pretty decent outside of all the injuries that we had at linebacker. He's going to the Bills. So, again, this has only been in, I guess you could say, 48 hours. And tomorrow, I believe at 4 o'clock is when, I guess, I don't want to say legal tampering because we're already legally tampering. I guess it's no more tampering.
It's officially the start of free agency tomorrow.
There we go.
Some of the folks that were, that have like the June 1st post designations, all that stuff officially locks in. So, some of the promises and the funny worded tweets, all that stuff locks in. I just need fans to take a deep breath. It's going to be day 3 of free agency. Some of y'all just relax. There's still a whole draft. Still 20-something teams.
They got more time to do stuff.
That's petty. I wasn't even talking about that.
Stuff up. I need one of them to just stay bad. Like I don't need to worry about the whole division. Somebody stay bad.
And both of y'all gonna have to get used to Washington doing intelligent things.
I don't
this
like
is
it.
New. You're gonna have to get used to it.
No,
Adam Peters is over there. Every other Shanahan McVay satellite camp that has been put up in other places in the league. It's competitive. So now you guys have one in your very own division. Congratulations.
No, thank you. Take it back. We don't want it.
It's too late. It's too late. Typical Washington football team behavior is $70 million on somebody. They would have did the Robert Hunt deal. They did nothing like that. They signed a bunch of people who might actually be able to play and have roles for them in mind. So this is new. But y'all get over it. I'm sure it'll make the division even more fun. We're going to take our first break when we get back. From the NFC East to the Washington Wizards, who are currently in the middle of a game, which we'll be checking on them a little bit later for those of you in Wizards Outlook. But take our first break when we get back. Ray's going to talk about what the Wizards have been up to before tonight's game against the Grizzlies that they're in the middle of. Welcome back to the Focus TV as promised. Ray, the floor is yours, the Washington Wizards.
They saw action 3 times since we last spoke. They dropped last Wednesday's game to Orlando 119-109. But look at this. They won 2 games in a row. They beat the Charlotte Hornets on Friday, and on Sunday they went down to Miami and got a tough win. It was 2 good wins, man, to be perfectly honest. They showed some grit and some competitiveness. On Friday, they went into the game trailing in the fourth quarter, and they blitzed the Hornets in the fourth quarter, 44-24. That's usually what happens to them. They go into a game in the closing frame, and it's close and they got a chance, and then they just have a collapse and the other team takes advantage. It was the total opposite on Friday night, man. 44 points in the quarter is crazy. But yeah, they just ran through Charlotte in that final period. And then in Miami on Sunday, they went down to South Beach, beat a Miami team that's jockeying for play-in position right now. So, it's not like they're giving games away or coasting on anything. They need every win they can get. And, and the Wizards went in there shorthanded and beat them. Kuzma was playing out of position, playing the 5. He had to deal with Bam on both ends, and he took it to him, to be perfectly honest. Wilson alluded to it earlier. The shot wasn't falling. So at some point, he just decided that he was going to go to the basket and either finish or get fouled. And, he was 12 for 16 from the line. The last time a Wizards player shot 16 free throws, who knows, man? They're typically a jump shot happy team. and even Kuz himself, he was 2 for 7 from 3, which, given his shooting percentage, probably could have tailed that off a little bit, but yeah, we've seen games where that's 2 for 13 or 2 for 14. We've begged, hey, just take off a couple of those questionable ones and get downhill, and that's what he did, man. It turned into a win. So yeah, man, they got a little bit of momentum going. They got 3 more on the road, including tonight. They're playing Memphis. They're trailing 45-39 in the second quarter. Then they have Houston on Thursday and Chicago on Saturday, and they return home against the Celtics on Sunday. Yeah, one day at a time until they get to that Sunday game, because somebody was funny too scheduling the Celtics on St. Patrick's Day, but yeah, they got a chance, man, to kind of build some positive momentum here. They're struggling. We all know Houston's situation in Chicago as well. So, they got a chance here to kind of string some wins together. But yeah, who knows what'll happen. We'll tap in with you guys later on the Wizards Outlook to discuss the outcome of this Grizzlies game.
Yeah, like you said, one game at a time this week. And yeah, the schedule makers had jokes. It's a sick individual. Very sick individuals. You're going to schedule the Celtics on. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. Just take care of business earlier in the week, and whatever happens on Sunday is a bonus if you are able to come out on top in that matchup, or even if the other thing happens. You took care of business earlier in the week. But again, like Ray said, back-to-back wins in a tough year like this, have to celebrate the small wins, literally and figuratively. We'll take a second break. When we get back, quick update on DC United. Then I got some interesting stuff for you guys in rapid fire. Because the NFL is just the gift that keeps on giving, man. Just free agency and NFL news. And Aaron Rodgers, my favoriteest person in the whole wide world, is making an appearance this week in rapid fire. We will return in just a few. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, quick DC United update for you all. As for the Black and Red this week, they face FC Cincinnati on the road over the weekend. While they weren't able to walk away with the 3 points in the results, so they did not get a W, but they also didn't leave with the loss. They did leave with 1 point in the standings because it was a scoreless draw, which means DC United remains unbeaten this season. This was also the second straight game they played without the services of one Christian Benteke up top at the point of attack. Again, they opened the season. He played hat trick. Did not play the next 2 games. They did score 2 goals in their second match, but they came late. And they ended that game in a 2-2 draw. This time, neither team was able to score, but credit the goalkeeper Alex Bono and the DC United backline for holding up a clean sheet. Up next, DC United will host Inter Miami on Saturday at 2 p.m. That means Messi and company are in town. Yeah. If anybody has anything to do in DC around that part of DC on Saturday, about that 2 p.m. window, I wish you the best in getting around. I think someone tweeted earlier that they saw it was like 150 plus media credential requests for this weekend. I will be at home watching on Apple TV, happily and comfortably. But yeah, it's going to be nuts. For all those that are in attendance, I'm sure you guys can enjoy it. But for DC United, how about that? Again, they're going into this game unbeaten. They're 1-0-2 on the year, which has them currently in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Again, new regime. Unbeaten is unbeaten. I know it's different in other sports. It's either a win streak or a losing streak. There's no in between. I'm sure the Wizards wish they had that number in between where you can have an unbeaten streak. They do not. NBA does not afford you that. There's just 2 columns. But we're going to get into rapid fire. And we're going to start with Isaiah Thomas, man. We just got to start there. I think Ray already knows where I'm going. This is group chat earlier, but Octavia, you're first. So as soon as I'm done setting this up, feel free to jump right in, have your mic unmuted and ready to go. I'm not even going to officially pass it along because I'll be over here trying not to laugh over my own words even though I already know what I'm about to say. But yeah, man, this is comedy. Let me pull this up real quick because some things are just very, very hilarious, man. All right, you guys should be able to see the words popping up on the screen as they're coming up. But I will read what was said. Isaiah Thomas went on Draymond podcast and had this to say. I want to most definitely hear you guys' thoughts. That's Octavia, you're up first. Quote, before Kevin Durant arrived in Golden State, y'all were on the verge, and he did. You see his hand, airplane crashing sound going down like you is the only thing missing from this clip. You were on the verge of being remembered as a team that went 73-9 and lost to the Cleveland Cavalier team in the finals. You were up 3-1 and probably one of the biggest collapses in NBA Finals history. Kevin Durant comes that summer, really saves y'all basketball legacy. You win 2 championships after that. Golden State Warriors dynasty. After that, the Golden State Warriors dynasty that you're going to the Hall of Fame on and everything else, it is cemented because if Durant don't come that summer, and you guys remember it as a 73-9 team, all of your legacies are different. End quote. Hell of a statement from Mr. Thomas. One, we can get into him, and there's another subject on that podcast. I refuse to address it anymore. I'm about sick of it because it is delusional. He got to let this go. You are not getting Michael Jeffrey Jordan to apologize at all. You got to, not in this lifetime. Maybe in another plane, an alternate. I don't even know you get it happen in an alternate universe. Alternate timeline, it's not happening. You got to let this go. But interesting because, we saw Draymond a couple weeks ago. I was asking you guys when he was calling KD, P-word and all this other stuff after, after the Warriors beat the Suns and, the famous whole thing. We won before you, we went after you, even though Steph kind of carried them against Boston. But whatever, Draymond's going to talk. And he was just real humble and quiet during all this. Kind of just took it, which I found interesting. But I'll tell you your thoughts. And then Ray.
My first thought is I just want us to stop talking about it. Like, I really do. Like, it happened. There's no what if this would have happened, what if that would have happened. Like, I really don't want to talk about it anymore. But I don't think he's lying. I don't think he's lying. The soft side of me on the inside is like, Steph would have held it together. They would have been fine. But I go back and I think about, like you said, we talked about a couple weeks ago about how much work KD was doing in those finals and the audacity of Draymond to insinuate, that I don't know, he wasn't or whatever. But I don't think he's lying. I just don't want to keep saying it out loud. Those were those 2 championships that KD was there for. Like, it definitely put them over. Had those not been there, we might not be. We probably won't be talking about them as, the dynasty. Like, it wouldn't have happened. And like he said, especially because y'all were 73-9, and that's all they talked about all season. So I think it's always going to be a blemish to a certain extent for both sides, and not KD's on the same side as like Steph and Clay and all of them. KD's always going to have to deal with the fact that you went to the team that you lost, and he's always going to have to deal with that. But I think on the other side, they're always going to have to deal with KD came and saved y'all. So it's a little interesting. Very bold of Isaiah to say this immediately to Draymond's face, though. I love that, though, because I don't think anybody else has probably said this to him because people pretend to be scared of him, I guess. So I definitely give him kudos for saying that. Going on my man's show and telling him, hey, bruh, y'all wasn't about to do it without KD. So I guess it's like if you got a podcast, he telling the truth on the podcast, no matter whose it is. So, yeah. I just wish we stopped talking about it, but I don't think he's lying.
Ray.
I actually love the fact that he went on his podcast and said it. because you know, the fact that Draymond didn't challenge it at all, that lets me know that he feels the same way. Because any other time he has no problem speaking his mind, and he just sat there and took it. And I mean, everybody knows what it was. Everybody knows what it was. They know what it was, because if they didn't, they wouldn't have flew across the country and sat in that man's living room and begged and pleaded for him to come. So that it is what it is. And, you know, quiet as it's kept, they needed KD to be KD to get through some of them series, not only the finals. You know, that first year, 16-17, they steamrolled everybody. I think they lost one game in that playoffs. But the next year, had a little trouble against the Clippers in the first round. KD had to turn up. You know, they pushed them to 6. They got pushed to 7 by the Rockets one series. So, and then in a pivotal game in the finals where Steph, Clay, and Draymond shit the bed, KD had to swoop in. And as we all know, momentum is a real thing. You know, they dropped that game, and who knows what happens. So, yeah, Draymond knows what it is. He could say whatever he wanted any other time, but when he was challenged with the facts today on his own platform, he was silent and just nodded in approval. So that's all we need to see. You know, anytime he ever says anything about KD again, which he shouldn't, because that was 8 years ago at this point, just play this clip, because
you just have this on the loop.
he needs to be thankful to KD, because, you know, like Octavia said, we don't play the what if game, but say KD doesn't go there, Draymond is not there today, because they're figuring something else out and trying to retool. So yeah, but no, I just found it hilarious that Zeke brought it up on on Draymond's podcast. And yeah, my man ain't had nothing to say, which we all know what that means. But yeah, I want to stop talking about it too, unless people are just going to be honest. Like we need to stop walking on eggshells about it. He came in and he was Superman on the Justice League. It is what it is. You know, he propelled them to 2 more rings and extended their run. For anybody to say anything else is ludicrous.
Man, it's hilarious to me, because when we think back to the Patriots dynasty, what do we think about? Would they go 17-1? All the stuff they did, 20 years of dominance, we didn't let that go. Dude, y'all went 73-9. Dude, join y'all and help y'all go 8-1 against them dudes who you choked against in such dominating fashion that we let y'all off the hook for 73-9 and not finishing.
That's true. I ain't thought about 73-9 in a minute either. So
like that's what preceded it. But the only reason you dominated in the next 2 years, somebody had somebody sacrificing other people at the altar to get away from that smoke. And it wasn't y'all that reported this a part of the 73-9. Like, that's crazy. Think about that. We don't address 73-9. That's one of the greatest collapses in sports. And y'all get to walk around. And again, this is not Steph and Clay. Is that never? Every other Warrior has no issue. Like, no one else is talking the stuff that Draymond's saying because of this. But bro, y'all somehow got away with going 73-9, not finishing the job, and it's cool. All y'all walking around with your head held high and no one shames you for it. People shame the Rockets for missing 20-something threes, but they had y'all in hell if dude wasn't there. Chris Paul might have been a champ or something if dude wasn't there. Aww. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just I remember one of the trips, the first round against Utah, y'all were in trouble. Oh, we just go to death lineup, and now Rudy Gobert got to guard Kevin Durant 1-on-1. Like, come on, y'all. Like, y'all was able to hit a button to prevent y'all from ever doing that thing again. Y'all won 73-9. Nobody ever talks about it. Like, y'all gonna get in Hall of Fame and people aren't gonna mention 73 and 9. All people ever talk about is it's not fair that they got Kevin Durant. Not that y'all had one of the greatest collapses ever. How does that get left out of the conversation? I mean, you're gonna be ungrateful. It's crazy to me. But anyways, running backs. NFL, gotta love this, right? So much moving in free agency already. Running back position still getting treated like trash. The Bengals didn't let Joe Mixon get a taste of free agency on the open market because the NFL is a horrible place. They waited to try and cut him after securing his replacement, while 8+ starting running back positions on other teams were filled with signings earlier in the day. While both eventually landed on their feet. Talk about Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones. I apologize. My question is so the Packers when it got Josh Jacobs, then told Aaron Jones, "Hey, take a pay cut to back up Josh Jacobs. Thank you for everything, especially being an anchor for our young team in the playoffs last season when y'all won a playoff game. It's whatever, but get the hell out of here. We want Josh Jacobs now. But please stay, take a pay cut if you don't mind. But we're only gonna let you, we're not gonna let you know we're going after Josh Jacobs until after we get Josh Jacobs. And then now the jobs are full. There's nowhere else to go. So he went to the Vikings. Shout out to him. Everyone landed on their feet. But why they keep doing the running back position so dirty? Then Saquon, thankfully, he was able to strong arm the Eagles and to get his 15.8. And he had the strong arm then because they just down bad. Like their running back situation been so bad, he was able to strong arm them. Shout out to Saquon Barkley and his agent for pulling the Kirk Cousins on the Philadelphia Eagles. Because otherwise, we know as running backs, you're not allowed to get that money. And usually if you do get that money, they trade you Carolina Panthers. Why they keep treating these people like this, right? Dude,
I don't know, man, but it's been trending this way for years. Once things kind of shifted to a more pass happy league, running backs have been treated like day old food, man. Like you rarely see a team with a feature back anymore. It's all this running back by committee stuff. And the league is blatantly telling these guys they're completely expendable. And like for the tough, like football is already a grueling sport, but for running backs, man, that's a tough life. And then to be dealt with this way, it's terrible, man. Yeah, I don't know. I just hope every team that operates in bad faith like this, I wish them nothing but misfortune. Because that especially that Packers situation. You had a guy put in work for you, like put in work when your season should have been way worse, and then you do them like that. Like that's crazy. But I like to see them type of situations end up with the guy in the division. So you got to deal with them twice. And good luck with that. But no, seriously, man, it sucks the way running backs get dealt with. Hopefully something changes. It's the NFL, so I doubt it. But it just sucks all the way around.
Octavia.
Yeah. First of all, I'm offended that you said we were that bad, but okay. It's kind of offended. DeAndre Swift had his best year with us last year, and that time he got a bag. I guess $8 million is a bag for running backs. Outside of Saquon.
We don't address running backs to get depleted by nickel corners. We don't address them as such. Don't have time for that. Nope. I don't have time for that. And I'm not calling people with initials. We're not using their initials if they play less than that. So that's Arthur that wears 11 on your team. Please continue.
Yeah. So I don't know why they keep doing them like this. I do think that outside of the few that might not have gotten the contracts that they wanted, I do think this was a better cycle than we've seen in the last couple of years. Again, Saquon got paid pretty decently. Josh Jacobs got paid pretty decently. A lot of running backs went off the board on the first day of legal tampering. So they value them in some type of way. But I think this year is just because, from what I said earlier, I don't think it's a great running back draft class that's coming up. So everybody's like, I got to at least get one of these good joints to hold me down for the year. But I mean, I feel like it's just a story we say every year. They just don't think that they last long, and they like to lease them. Get them all beat up for a year or two, and then send them on out to pasture and find the next new one. It's sad, especially because they definitely take the most punishment outside of offensive linemen, I think, like consistently, because they're probably always at the bottom of these piles as well. So they have a high risk of injury. So you gotta, I feel like Saquon was probably getting death threats for leaving the New York Giants and going to the Philadelphia Eagles. But I mean, it's money that's going to change his life. And I think that's what people forget sometimes, that it's a game, but it's also a business. That these players are putting their bodies on the line, and they're trying to get the monetary value that they feel like they need to support themselves, as well as their children and their children's children and their parents and their grandparents and everybody else who's asking for a handout. So I don't know if it will change. Like you said, it's the NFL, so it probably won't. Unless, because I do think this is a monkey see, monkey do league. So I think that's also just the opportunity that it could possibly happen, but somebody has to be the one to really jump out there and do it. But at the same time, we saw what happened with Deshaun Watson. That ain't getting no monkey see, monkey do. There's like, nah, ain't nobody else doing that. So you never really know. But like you said, it's nice to see that they all kind of landed on their feet. Especially like you said with the Aaron Jones one and the Joe Mixon one. Like I do think that was a little treacherous, to hold on to them until they secured somebody new. But we're gonna release you. About like you said, and like I said, a lot of running backs went very early to running back needy teams early on day one. So to release them that late, they're behind the 8 ball and scrambling to try to find a team. So it's nice to see that they all got somewhere. I mean, Joe Mixon was going to be released, ended up getting traded. So I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad, because he didn't really have his choice. Now I think he ends up in a good situation in Houston, of course, but the other players probably got their little bit of taste of free agency. Austin Eckler to the Commanders. Zach Moss, I think, ended up going to Cincinnati. I mean, there's still some out there that don't have a job. Alexander Madison, who was supposed to be the heir apparent to Dalvin Cook, and that went up in flames very fast. So I don't think he has a home either. So I'm sure he's still shopping himself around as well. But who knows if it'll change? I don't think it will. I think that it will only change for quote unquote game changers. Like Christian McCaffrey to the 49ers was a game changer. I'm praying Saquon Barkley to the Philadelphia Eagles is a game changer, but we don't know. So I think that those type of players are going to be the one that command it. I'm thinking Bijan Robinson, if he continues to play that he had last year, and then with the upgrades that the Atlanta Falcons have so far, he could be a game changer going down the pike. So who knows? I just think you have to really be a high caliber player. But I don't think a lot of them get the opportunities to really do it because, again, it's a pass-happy league. So sometimes they can't even really show off their full potential. And then, again, like you said, they're playing with running backs by committee. So I'm not even playing a good amount of snaps throughout the game to really show my longevity and how much I can actually do.
Yeah, I just think it's nasty. We're specific. Like, I know it's bad on the position they devalue around the league, but for both of those guys, I feel like they're both 3-down backs. They're technically everything everybody says they want. Aaron Jones came into the league as like the pass catching back. That also showed he can run hard. And I think Joe Mixon is getting blamed for the fact that Cincinnati just chooses not to give him the ball. Like, he's not in control of that. Like, he's good. He's a complete running back. He can't make them be like, hey, let's be responsible adults here, which is weird. But like you said, they end up in good situations. Just kind of crazy. A real wild one real quick just because he's here. I had Sam Darnold up there, but it doesn't matter. We already know how that goes on. Just some people get multiple chances to be mid no matter how many chances they're given. Doesn't make any sense. My man went to San Francisco, stayed quiet, kept his mouth shut for a year, and just got $10 million to go try to be a Vikings quarterback. It's kind of wild. All he did last year was take kneel downs at the end of blowouts. That's it. That's it. He played one game when the Rams and Niners both agreed that Week 18 was officially a preseason game while they both got ready for the playoffs. He played one game. And in that game, people were like, please, Brock, come back. Please, Brock, come back. Please, Brock, come back. Horrible. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers on his short list to be his running mate on an independent presidential ticket in November. Nothing is formal at this time. Can you imagine if this was to happen, Ray?
We live in a simulation, man, because what the hell is this? Please be serious. But yeah, I'm honestly not surprised by this type of stuff anymore. This country is operating on pure foolishness at the moment. So yeah, man, good luck with your ivermectin and your wild conspiracy theories. Like, bro, are you retiring from the NFL or something? Like, what's going on here? But yeah, good luck with that. Thank you for wasting everybody's time if this is even considered a serious option. But yeah, this is crazy.
Hey, I'm sorry. It hit my timeline earlier. I read it. I was pissed that I read it, so I had to share the nonsense with other people. I tell you.
This really irks my soul. What's crazier is I saw the alert. I think it was from ESPN pop up on my phone. And I was like, this will sound so stupid, but I was like, Aaron Rodgers running like a marathon at RFK or something? Like, what is happening? Like, running for what? Like, what are we talking about? RFK, like RFK Stadium is open again. Like, I was legit like, you are not talking about running for like office. Like, that's not what's happening. I blame Trump. I'm gonna say it. I blame him. He's got all these celebrities thinking that they can run politics. Please stay in your lane. Like, I don't want to deal with it. I already hate having to see him on Pat McAfee every Tuesday or whatever they do every time he does something. I don't want. Can you imagine? He's probably worse than Trump on social media. Like, I can't. Please go somewhere. I want him to just retire and go live in whatever dark water cave he likes to go to, so we don't ever have to hear about it again. Like, I cannot take, like, at this point, he's 40. I do not want him to play until he's 41. Like, I don't want it to happen, even though he turns 41 in December. So he'll still be playing at 41. That should be the cutoff for him. Go on out the pasture. Please don't put him on no NFL shows, Sunday countdowns, ESPN. Don't put him on nothing. He's talked enough. This is one of those times where this is going to sound so bad, where, you know, they used to tell LeBron, shut up and dribble. Like, just shut up and throw the pigskin. Like, come on, bro. I don't want to deal with it no more. I cannot take Aaron Rodgers. He's a hell of a player. I cannot take that away from him at all. But please, don't do it. Can you imagine if Aaron Rodgers got a podcast? Please hide all the podcast microphones away from him as well.
About when? It's a matter of time. All right, last one. My man Kirk Cousins is the greatest agent to ever agent in the NFL. I mean, Hall of Fame wing him. He needs a wing for NFL agents. Or it just needs to say NFL agents. Nobody else needs to be in his wing by himself. Kirk Cousins did it again. Well, you know, his agent. Cousins agreed to a 4-year, $180 million contract with the Atlanta Falcons. 100 of that 180 is guaranteed in the not-for-long league. How the hell do he and his agent keep doing this? Keep in mind, he's coming off a season-ending Achilles injury. Octavia, and then Ray.
I mean, his agent should be in the Hall of Fame. Let's get him a gold jacket. Put him in there with everybody else. Like, I don't understand it. I mean, granted, he came off of having before the injury a very good year. So I understand it. And Atlanta was void of any talent as far as quarterback at all. And he was probably the best option as far as a veteran leader because they have a lot of young pieces down there in Atlanta in a very dismal and porous NFC South. So it's easy for them. I mean, granted, I know you don't make these decisions based off of this, but I still find it hard to leave Justin Jefferson because I'm like, bro, I just throw that thing. He up there somewhere. Not saying that the weapons he has down there can't be Justin Jefferson-esque. Not Justin Jefferson, but esque. And maybe it gets Kyle Pitts more involved, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. So again, he has a lot of good pieces around him down there. Stories are his wife is from Atlanta. He's going home. He spends a lot of his off time in Atlanta. So it makes sense. But my God, I had to look up the name of his agent. His agent's name is Mike McCartney. I need to find him to get me a raise at work or something because he is negotiating the hell out some contracts. And like you said, to come off of season-ending Achilles injury at 35, I believe Kirk is 35. Yeah, and he'll be 36 when the season starts. That's a hell of a deal for a vet. There are quarterbacks out here taking vet minimums. And probably however many years removed he is from the Washington Commanders, I thought he would probably be at a vet minimum by now if he was still in the league. And my man has parlayed this career into, I think they said at the end of his tenure or however much money, like he's going to have made over $300 million.
In the NFL. In the NFL.
And that's wild. For Kirk, middle name Cousins, because whatever it is, Daniel Cousins.
Hey, his middle name's
Daniel Cousins.
His middle name's guaranteed.
Shoot, he should. If him and his wife have another baby, he need to name him Mike McCartney. At this point, name your next born after me, bro. And I hope Mike McCartney gets a very hefty finder's fee or whatever they call it for agents, because my man deserves it. I need to know what negotiating school he went to.
How the heck is your man coming off an Achilles and got $100 million guaranteed? Ray, your thoughts on Kirk Cousins and his agent doing it one more time for the one time?
Yeah, he know where the body's at. Like that's the only explanation, man. Like nothing else makes sense. Nothing else makes sense. He knows he got all the secrets, so that's my story and I'm sticking to it because there ain't no other way to explain it. Like Octavia said, man, 35 coming off of ACL, like, and you give him that type of money.
Honestly, I think I would slightly be more okay if it was an ACL, it was an Achilles. Like Achilles always makes me
right, yeah.
Like that little rigid part behind your foot, like I can't move. Like, what are we talking about?
In his defense, he's not going to be moving any differently post Achilles than he was pre Achilles. Kirk just be shuffling. In his defense,
but it could be worse than that.
Again, I'm not trying to say this is okay. Just in his defense, when Kirk got to move, the ball just hits the dirt or it goes away. Kirk don't mess around.
And then the Falcons are in a position to kind of turn things around. Like they got some interesting pieces down there. What's the glue that's going to hold this all together? Let's get Kirk Cousins and give him a whole lot of money. Come on, man. Professional malpractice. But hey, I ain't mad at dude. I'd have signed a contract too.
Man, hey, look.
Yep.
Might have signed it with my toe on the foot with the messed up Achilles. Right up on the little iPad. Like that's the thing. Like, I know people laugh at Kirk, make fun of Kirk. He gets the football out of his hands. That's I can't get mad at him for. Boy racks up 5,000 yards just because. The thing that I do think will change in Atlanta is instead of people be like, hey, Kyle Pitts, are you going to have a catch this year? That's not going to be a problem. Everyone's going to have the ball. It's just, bro, $100 million guaranteed at 35 is wild. I am sorry. My man just got baseball money, like second contract baseball money. So shout out to Kurt. But we will see y'all next week. Y'all have a great week. Look forward to talking to you then. We get closer to the NCAA tournament. And you know, after the rest of this week, for those of you who won't catch us on Wizards Outlook, Ray's gonna let y'all know what the Wizards look like post St. Patrick's Day. So we'll see y'all then. And I'm sure some more stuff will happen for you by that point. Octavia, your boy CJ, you know, whatever the rest of his name is, he got the tweet and talk about I apologize to the Philly fans and y'all fans. No, I'm dead serious. He jumped out on Twitter like y'all fans are reasonable. And that's what's happening on Twitter. So I urge you to go check that out. Y'all have a great week. We'll see y'all soon.